In this video, I will rank every international tournament I have watched. I will only be ranking tournaments where I have watched the majority of games, so tournaments such as Copa America and the Gold Cup will not be here because I usually don't watch the majority of games and I don't remember the tournaments too well. Which means I will be ranking 3 European Championships and 3 World Cups. Before we get started, please like and subscribe and follow me on TikTok and Twitter. Thanks. So let's get into it. In last place, I have the 2016 Euros. I've enjoyed watching every international tournament, including this one, but this one was just the most boring and underwhelming out of the ones I've watched. This tournament obviously still had some great moments, such as Iceland making it to the quarterfinals and beating England 2-1 in the round of 16. There were some great penalty shootouts in the Poland versus Switzerland round of 16 match, the Poland versus Portugal quarterfinals match, and especially the Germany versus Italy quarterfinal match. Also, Wales had a fantastic run to the semifinals, even beating Belgium in the quarterfinals. And of course, there were some fantastic performers throughout the entire tournament, such as the failed wonder kid Renato Sanchez, and then Antoine Griezmann and Gareth Bale. Now, my issue with this tournament is that the quality of teams was quite poor. National teams that are usually the top teams every year were nowhere near their best, except for France, which I think were the best team in the tournament. Also, for me, Portugal were not worthy winners, but of course, they somehow won. I can make a whole video on this topic, but Portugal snuck their way into the final and won the whole tournament after playing very poorly in pretty much every game in the tournament. In fifth place, I have the 2012 Euros. This was the first international tournament I ever watched and introduced me to the world of international football. I don't really have too much to say about this tournament because it did happen 11 years ago and I don't remember it fully. But this Euro only had 16 teams, which I think made it a bit more enjoyable and competitive because there weren't any horrible teams that didn't deserve to be there. Again, I don't think that the quality of teams was that great, especially from the bigger sides such as France and England, but the games were still fun. Spain was clearly the best team in the tournament and rightfully won the entire thing. The one thing that upset me about this tournament was the final. Spain absolutely slaughtered Italy, and I hate when those types of finals occur because then the whole tournament feels like a waste of time. In fourth place, I have the 2018 World Cup. I absolutely loved watching this tournament, but mostly because of Croatia's success in it. As a Croatian, it was so much fun and brought me some of my favorite moments as a football fan. Apart from Croatia's run to the final, I didn't love too much of this tournament. The group stage only had one real surprise, which was Germany getting knocked out. The group stage was pretty straightforward, and all of the favorites made it through. The knockout stage had some great games, but if we're being honest, one side of the bracket was so much better than the other, and it was just an uneven balance of teams. One side of the bracket had France, Belgium, Portugal, Brazil, and Uruguay, and the other had Spain, England, and Croatia, which is fine and it was great for Croatia, but for entertainment purposes, not really, especially since Spain got knocked out by Russia in the round of 16 and England were never likely to win the tournament. But like I said, there were some great games, including Belgium's insane comeback against Japan, France versus Argentina, Spain versus Russia, and all of Croatia's knockout matches. Overall, I enjoyed this tournament and France were the worthy winners, but the final was very underwhelming. In third place, I have the 2014 World Cup. This was the tournament with the best vibes. It sounds corny, but the vibes and a great atmosphere is needed for these types of tournaments, and that's exactly what Brazil provided for this tournament. This was the first World Cup I ever watched, so it will always be special to me. This is also the only tournament where I will probably ever get to watch all three of the national teams I support: Croatia, Bosnia, and the United States. I honestly don't really have any issues with this tournament. There were some great surprises in the group stages, with Spain getting knocked out, Italy and England both getting knocked out in the same group, which Costa Rica topped, and also Portugal got knocked out in the groups as well. Almost every game in the round of 16 and the quarterfinals was a close match and very dramatic. And of course, we can't talk about the 2014 World Cup without mentioning Brazil's 7-1 defeat to Germany in the semifinal in their home country. This will always be the most embarrassing game in football history. There were some fantastic goals scored throughout the tournament and some fantastic performers, especially James Rodriguez, who absolutely lit up the World Cup and introduced himself to the world. There were also 4 penalty shootouts, which always adds to the enjoyment as a neutral. Then the final was also not bad, and ultimately, Germany was definitely the best team in the tournament and rightfully won the entire thing. In second place, I have the 2022 World Cup. I think most people would probably put this as their number one, but for me, my first place tournament was just a bit more enjoyable. The group stage in this tournament was great. Argentina losing their first game to Saudi Arabia, Australia making it out of the group where they were expected to finish last, Japan topping their group and knocking out Germany, Morocco topping the group of death, and South Korea surprisingly qualifying for the knockouts. In the round of 16, we saw Australia put up a very good fight against Argentina, Croatia beating Japan on penalties, Morocco beating Spain on penalties, and Portugal destroying Switzerland. In the quarterfinals, we saw the Netherlands make a dramatic late comeback against Argentina, but then ended up losing on PKs. Croatia also had a dramatic late comeback against Brazil, but ended up beating Brazil on PKs. France beat England after Harry Kane missed a late PK, and Morocco beat Portugal 1-0 and became the first African nation to reach the semifinals of a World Cup. The quarterfinals were great, but the semis were a bit disappointing and ended up being mismatches. The final of this World Cup was extremely boring for about 75 minutes, which is why I don't really understand why people call it the greatest match of all time, because it really wasn't. Argentina was by far the better team, but then a couple moments of magic from Mbappe really made the game exciting. Extra time was extremely fun to watch. Messi scores and thinks he's secured the World Cup for Argentina, but then France win a penalty late and Mbappe slots it home. Then Kolo Muani gets an unbelievable chance to win the World Cup for France, but his shot was saved by Emi Martinez. Then we all know that Argentina won the penalty shootout and won the World Cup. I didn't really care who won this World Cup. I know that everybody wanted Messi to win to secure like his GOAT status or whatever, but I already knew he was the GOAT, so I didn't really care about him winning and would not have minded if France won. In first place, I have the 2020 Euros. I loved basically everything about this tournament. I actually ended up watching all but one game of the tournament, and it brought back my love for football. I didn't watch too much football during the 2020-21 season, and this just got me excited to watch the sport again. This tournament was mostly filled with incredible moments. I especially loved watching Denmark, and I really wanted them to make it to the final, not only because of what happened to Eriksen in Denmark's opening game, but mostly because they played really good football and they were really fun to watch. The group of death was also really fun, and it was great to see France, Germany, and Portugal all qualify for the knockouts. The knockout stage was incredible. In the round of 16, Denmark demolished Wales. Italy and Austria had a dramatic extra time finish. Croatia made an insane late comeback to tie the match 3-3 with Spain, but ended up falling short in extra time. And on that same day, we saw another insane comeback, but this time Switzerland tied the match 3-3 against France with two late goals and went on to beat France in PKs. And then we saw Ukraine beat Sweden with a 121st minute winner. Then in the quarterfinals, we saw England destroy Ukraine 4-0 and Switzerland lose to Spain in a PK shootout after making another great comeback. Both of the semifinals were also great. Kane secured England's spot in the final after scoring the winner in the 104th minute, and Italy and Spain went all the way to PKs, and Jorginho slotted the final penalty home and sent Italy to the final. The final was fantastic. The game was quite close and obviously had an extremely dramatic penalty shootout, which ended in an Italy win. Italy throughout the tournament was so much fun to watch. I think they rightfully won the tournament and always looked like they were going to win the entire thing. So that's the end of the video. Please tell me your favorite international tournament in the comments below. And again, like and subscribe if you enjoyed. Thanks for watching.